Thank you, Chairman. Ms. Dillon, you recently announced that DOJ was launching an investigation into the University of California over its UC 2030 capacity plan, which notes that future growth of faculty and students should result in campus populations that better reflect and tap the talent of underrepresented populations who represent the majority of Californians. In the SFFA versus Harvard opinion, the Supreme Court held that nothing in this opinion should be construed as prohibiting universities from considering an applicant's discussion of how race affected his or her life, be it through discrimination, inspiration, or otherwise, allowing universities to continue assessing students' experience with race on an individualized basis. In that opinion, in his concurrence, Justice Thomas praised the University of California for achieving diversity through race-neutral policies, including preferences for low-income applicants and first-generation students, and recruiting efforts targeted at areas with substantial populations of people of color. Are the race-neutral policies like those used by University of California, which Justice Thomas explicitly praised in that opinion, now considered by you to be illegal DEI?
Well, Senator, first of all, the investigation that we've opened is an investigation, and it's an investigation into the hiring policies of the University of California system, not the admissions policies. That said, I have absolutely seen abuses in the admissions policies in using race as a crude proxy for discrimination.
That's not the question I asked you. Are the race-neutral policies praised by Justice Thomas now considered by you to be illegal DEI?
I think you're mixing apples and oranges.
Well,
I can't really answer your question.
You can answer my question and say, yes, they are now illegal. That is what Justice Thomas praised in terms of race-neutral policies, which include preferences for low-income applicants, first-generation students, things like that. Are you now saying that what Justice Thomas praised is now illegal in your view?
Senator, there's a difference between what you see on paper and what you see in reality, and I reject your premise.
I'm not asking you about particular.
I reject your premise that how California describes its
practice.
admissions
I'm asking
practices
you about whether
reality.
you subscribe to the Supreme Court's opinion or whether you disagree with Justice Thomas' concurrence. You can answer that question, can't you?
In the abstract, yes. In reality, what you're describing does not exist in the UC system.
Okay, so Justice Thomas got it wrong. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying that.
Well, you are saying that because he was praising the policies of the University of California. You seem to be saying now that any university that gives a preference to low-income applicants is engaged in illegal DEI, or if they put a focus on first-generation students, that's somehow impermissible. After all the years of criticism of cancel culture, you seem to want to cancel.
Senator delivers a scathing critique of the DOJ's investigation into the University of California's DEI hiring practices. Is this a war on race-neutral policies? Has the administration weaponized federal power to push a political agenda? Watch this explosive exchange unfold on Capitol Hill. In a fiery Senate hearing, a top DOJ official is confronted over what some say is an attack on race-neutral diversity efforts. At the heart of the controversy, a federal investigation into the University of California's DEI hiring policies, and a senator who's not holding back. Is the administration abandoning the Supreme Court's guidance, or is there more than meets the eye? Let's break it down. The senator opened with a pointed question. Why is the DOJ targeting the University of California's hiring policies? These policies, praised by Justice Clarence Thomas for their race-neutral approach, focus on low-income and first-generation students, as well as targeted recruitment in underserved areas. So why the federal probe? The DOJ made it clear, their investigation is strictly about hiring, not admissions, but the tension was just beginning. The senator cites the Supreme Court's landmark decision, where race can still be considered in a personal narrative. In his concurrence, Justice Thomas explicitly praised the University of California's diversity strategy. Then came the critical question. Are those race-neutral practices now illegal in the DOJ's view? Instead of a direct answer, the DOJ questioned the practical application of UC's policies, implying that what's on paper doesn't reflect what's actually happening. Frustrated, the senator accused the DOJ of trying to cancel any institution that opposes the administration's views, from law firms to major universities. Even the Associated Press and the Wall Street Journal were named as victims.
You seem to want to cancel any institution that has views that you disagree with. In answer to the questions about law firms, you want to cancel law firms because they take on unpopular clients to you, to the administration. That is, if a firm represents someone with an adverse interest to the administration, which is their First Amendment right to do, and I would also say their duty to do, you would cancel them. You would cancel universities like Harvard or the University of Virginia that take positions and exercise their First Amendment rights contrary to what you think the administration wants to see. You would cancel the Associated Press for not using the ridiculous nomenclature of the Gulf of America. You're canceling now the Wall Street Journal because the Wall Street Journal had the audacity to publish an article about Trump's connections to Jeffrey Epstein. So this is what's going on in this administration. You've devastated the Civil Rights Division. Hundreds of attorneys, 368, have departed since January of this year. There's been a mass exodus from the Civil Rights Department. It is just a shell of what it used to be. They're being canceled. They're being canceled by you, by the department. Anyone that stands up to this president is at risk of being canceled. And I think what you're doing to use the sledgehammer of federal funding with universities to try to coerce them to accepting your right-wing agenda is disgraceful. And using that cudgel will have far-reaching implications, attacking research done by universities, academic independence done by universities. It will establish a dangerous precedent that can be abused by a president of any party, and we should recognize that on a bipartisan basis, even though it does not appear that we do. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Senator Kennedy.
In the future of higher education, this exchange highlights a deeper battle over power, precedent, and the soul of American institutions. Where does the line between oversight and overreach lie? Make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more sharp analysis from Capitol Hill. Leave a comment below. Should the DOJ be investigating DEI policies? Or is this political overreach at its worst?